Hello and welcome to NewsClick. The healthcare bill has widely been regarded as the signature domestic policy initiative of the Obama administration. As the bill was being considered in the House and the Senate, some commentators even felt that the very credibility of the Obama presidency and its ability to govern were at stake. The bill was finally passed in the House with a thin majority and appears likely to do the same in the Senate. But the entire debate has been highly charged. Within Congress, not a single Republican voted for the bill, while more than 30 Democrats voted against it. Amongst the wider public, the right has taken the battle to the streets in a deeply polarizing campaign, and US opinion polls show that a majority of Americans still do not approve of the reformed healthcare plan. To discuss these issues, we have with us today a familiar face to NewsClick viewers, Professor Aijaz Ahmad, political commentator on international affairs. What do you think of the healthcare plan and the bill first, before we come to the ramifications in the US polity?
Even when he was campaigning, he was saying that I will give you a new healthcare bill, but it will not cost either the US government or the taxpayer any money at all. Later on, he has been saying what I want to do is to extend the system of our system of private health insurance. So in that sense, I would call it an insurance reform bill, and we'll come to the issue of reform rather than a healthcare bill. And that's one thing. I also think that the bill, as it was originally conceived, was defeated by last summer because the key issue was, is it going to be Medicare for all, or at least an option, and a government-sponsored new health insurance company, so that you would have an option to buy from the government rather than from private insurance.
What's called the public option.
That's right, the public option. Now, I find it very striking that the only part of the US health system that actually works is Medicare,
right,
which is a government plan,
right,
and which covers all the elderly people in the United States, so that all families are quite familiar with what Medicare does.
And they like it.
And they like it. That's the only thing that works. That's the only thing that is popular in the United States. Obama never made the argument that that is the model on which we have to do health reform.
Right.
So that's one sort of thing. There are a couple of good things in it. I must say, 30 million more Americans will be insured. But the downside of it is that they are all being legally required to buy from private health insurance.
Sure.
Now, there is no good produced in the United States other than private health insurance, which a citizen is required by law to buy.
So it is universalizing healthcare, but compulsorily under private insurance.
Compulsorily, and there is no mechanism to regulate the premiums.
Right.
Okay, they can keep raising the premiums. One very good thing is that the US used to have a law in which the insurance companies could refuse coverage to people who had an existing condition. For example, if you had a heart problem, they would not insure your heart condition.
But now that's been...
Now they're compelled to do that. But things like that, there are 3 or 4 small things in it which are very good. But essentially, what Obama administration has done is that it has delivered 30 million more Americans to the private insurance companies by legislation.
And yet, if one sees the propaganda, if you like, of the Republicans and of the right, this is introduction of socialism through the front door. This is big government talking. They have opposed the bill tooth and nail, and have, in some senses at least, managed to convince a large part of the American public that this is going to be doing more harm than good, despite the fact that the whole premise of Obama's campaign and of his health reform, health bill campaign was to bend over backwards to accommodate the Republicans, to have a bipartisan approach, which doesn't seem to have done him any good at all.
For the last 6 months or so, people have been talking about a debate on the health bill. And there has been no debate, in the sense that wild charges are being made, words are being thrown at Obama and so on, but it has not been a discussion of the content of the bill except between the leftists and the liberals. Right. That is the only place where any debate has taken place. That's one. That bipartisan dream of, or rather the dream of bipartisanship that Obama has been touting was completely senseless to start with. In fact, he wasted a year. Sure. In fact, he created, there had been a momentum, and had he confronted, he would have got even better votes than this.
Quite.
These 30 Democrats may not have fled to the other side. Right. He may have got a stronger vote and a stronger bill with the same Republican thing, except that Republicans would have had a year of this smear campaign, which has gone into every household in the United States. Right. So the US public is completely bewildered. As you said in the introduction, now a majority of the US electorate is opposed to the bill. Right. Now, very many of them are opposed to it from the Republican point of view. But there are a number of people who are opposed to it because of its defects. There is an argument saying that in the kind of far-right political climate that the United States has, having any bill at all was a step forward. Sure. And now the new debate can begin as to how to improve it and how to...
With now the aggressive anti-Obama campaign picking up in momentum, in noise levels, in aggression, quite often bordering on violence. Where does this leave the Obama presidency, the state of US politics, particularly in the run-up to the by-elections, which is clearly going to influence the thinking of grassroots level political workers, and which must have been in the minds of those 30 Democrats who voted against the bill?
I think Obama has weakened himself through his entire approach from the beginning. Everybody seems to have gathered from his mode of operation that he's a weak president. Not only in domestic affairs, by the way, but also in foreign policy. That is what Israelis are counting on, that Obama is a weak president, he will never face up to us. He has lost the kind of moral authority and a majority backing with which he had come into power, and has been cut to size as just another US president, bubbling US president. There is that. Now, what's very interesting to me is these 30 Democrats who voted against the bill. It seems to indicate that among the Democrats themselves, there is now a sense that in the constituencies where they're going to go back for re-election, there is a strong enough opposition to Obama's health policies from whatever standpoint. Sure. So it is better to dissociate yourself from all this. So it appears that the grassroots, even of the Democratic Party, have been cut. Independents were a very decisive factor in giving Obama the kind of majority he had. He seems to have lost a lot of them. About the hysteria and threats of violence and so on, some of it has always been there against Democratic presidents. 35 to 40% of the Republican Party is evangelical Christians. So that kind of hysteria has always been there. Now the volume, the temperature has been raised. When sitting senators, when leaders of the Republican Party start using this language of violence, then you are in a very different kind of ball game. And what has happened is, we knew that part of the reason why the Republicans lost as badly as they did in the last election is that their party has been captured by the ultra-right wing. It was always there, but it was a fringe element.
That's right.
And it was never among the leadership of the Republican Party.
But now it's moved center stage.
Now it has moved center stage, and it has taken hold of the party. And this party, because of this phenomenon of their having taken hold of it, appeared about a year ago as to be just drifting. Now they have come back to a virtual half of the population. So that is very frightening, because you might have a situation in which 3-4 years down the line, you have a president of the United States representing them.
Right.
Fully. From Reagan to Bush, everyone placated them, everyone represented them and so on, but fully.
Thank you, Aijaz. I think we'll have to watch this in the months to come.